Hi friends. So in this video, I just wanna share with you guys a few tips that I recently found to improve self-love. So the first tip is to see yourself, like how you're treating yourself and how you're talking to yourself, as if you were talking to your daughter, like your own daughter, So the first thing you would do is obviously like you would want to take really good care of your daughter, right? Like feed her well and take good care of her, make sure that she's well fed and well slept and everything well taken care of. So that's like non-negotiable. Of course, like self-care is very, very important and you should never neglect that. Yeah. And the second thing is, like, if you are feeling negative emotions, like, or experiencing negative self-talk, instead of forcing yourself to dive into whatever you're focusing on, or like your work and stuff, like think about it as if you're raising your daughter, right? If your daughter is like saying that, oh my god, I hate my life, I don't like it, or like blah, 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 like really be in a really negative state, you wouldn't tell her to, oh, like shut up, like go do your work, like just ignore these feelings, but instead you would like talk to her really kindly and be like, oh, like baby girl, what happened, why are you feeling this way, like what do you need right now, like you would say things like that to her. And that's how you should talk to yourself as well, especially if you feel like you might have some like traumas or like unresolved emotional issues, which I would say that a lot of us still have. It's just like from a generational thing, I really think, because back then people aren't that aware and they don't really have like a lot of access to resources, and so like it's just normal, to have some like trauma. And like I feel like trauma is always generational, because humans as a collective, we like experience traumas and events as a collective, and it's like generational with time, and stuff. Yeah. So that's just my tip, and I find it really helpful, because sometimes when I experience really negative things, when I remind myself that, like, like when I'm treating myself with cruelty, or like in a really cruel way, or like in a really cold way, I would remind myself that you wouldn't want your daughter to treat herself like that, right? Like you wouldn't want your daughter to be like this. And I also want to like say or hypothesize, but I really like firmly believe that, like whatever your unresolved thought patterns or like behavioral patterns, it's going to get passed down to the next generation, like aka your daughter or your son, because like neurologically, okay, so like there is some evidence supporting this argument of mine, but because it's like kind of off topic, so I guess I'll briefly mention it. So like in an economic history class that I took in college, so essentially they found that descendants of like people with criminal backgrounds, even if they are separated from birth, like twins or something like that, like I really don't. Yeah. The crime rate, like it's still very high. Like it's still significantly higher than chance that they would engage in crime and stuff, and which kind of supports the idea of a lot of like memories or like thought patterns or behavioral patterns are being can be passed down genetically, if that makes sense. Yeah. So essentially, like that's just how I remind myself, essentially, like if I don't solve this problem right now, or like if I don't like, then my daughter, my descendants, my like offsprings are going to with are going to withhold, not withhold, but like be responsible for these healings. So like when I spot them, I just try to like heal whatever patterns, like negative thought patterns I have within myself. Yeah. So yeah, like essentially I think the most important thing is that you would want yourself to always be in a happy and positive state. And if you're not, then you would take the time to ask yourself why, like, and what do you need? What do you want right now? Like the first priority is to take good care of yourself, your internal state, and make yourself happy. Like not in like but not in a but not through instant gratification, because in the long term it's not gonna do good to you, and you wouldn't want your daughter to do that, right? So yeah. Yeah, so just make sure to and also you wouldn't just make sure to not dwell in like negative states and to not willingly prolong negative self-talk, because you wouldn't want your daughter to do that. Like, again, I feel like, because this is just like a really helpful tip that I learned and I implemented in my life, and it's just like, and it's just a really, it just like has proven. Okay, yeah, so that's all for this video, and I hope we can all learn to love ourselves a lot, and more and more as we practice self-love more. And I will continue to share with you guys helpful tips that I implement and find effective through my personal implementation with you guys. And that's all. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.